have to do something to disrupt this Virginia team's flow. And then they have to, when they create those opportunities, they have to deliver. And for Virginia, they've made it tough on opponents all year. They have to continue to force Miami into tough shots and get easy ones on their side.
Of course, Miami comes into this game with some fame and fortune, too. They're taking 3 of their last 4 games and putting themselves in position here with 4 more remaining, or 3 more remaining, including this one, to put themselves together a reasonable record in the ACC. Akpajori, Brown, Swope, Adams, and Kirk in the lineup for the men in green and orange from Miami.
Virginia opens in their patented man-to-man defense. And what this Virginia defense does is try to keep you out of the lane. Most of the time, if you're going to beat the Cavaliers, you're going to have to make some perimeter shots.
Whistle, ball out of bounds. Nice touch by Virginia. Tony Bennett, what a success he's been. His team has won. His record at Virginia has improved every season, and tonight he can win his 100th game. As head coach of the Virginia Cavaliers. Brown up to the top. Here's Garrett Adams.
This is what we talked about before the game. Miami creating opportunities for themselves, and here they have a second chance. Virginia usually does a pretty good job on the defensive boards, but they weren't able to corral that one.
This is a Miami team kind of playing out of character, but there's nothing out of character for that for Donovan Kirk.
Kirk really surprised Akil Mitchell. Mitchell usually does a much better job moving his feet than that. That's the kind of play that the Virginia defense would like to take away. They don't want anybody penetrating to the basket.
The Virginia defense is #1 in the country, let alone the ACC. Mitchell inside. That's a travel violation, so Virginia comes out a little squirrely at the top.
Now again, this is a second chance opportunity because Virginia wasn't able to claim the defensive rebound, and Donovan Kirk just went right by Akil Mitchell, who was not in good defensive position.
Here comes the drive. Darius Adams down the lane as the ball blocked out of bounds. Of course, no stranger to Charlottesville is this man, Jim Larrañaga, 7 years on the staff of Terry Holland here at Virginia. He's been a success everywhere he's gone as a head coach. He's well known for what he did with George Mason in his 3rd year at Miami. Brogdon and Harris and Parantes at the top.
Miami opens the game in a man-to-man defense. You'll see a lot of different defensive looks from them.
It's real simple.
Yeah, if you make shots, it doesn't matter how well you're guarded. Harris doing a great job moving without the basketball. When he can catch it in rhythm like that, he is a very, very solid three-point shooter.
55 hits for him behind the three-point line this year. Adams is fouled by Parantes as he goes around.
And one of the things about Joe Harris, one of the things he does very well is move without the basketball. He just comes off that Akil Mitchell screen, and I'm telling you, he's one of those guys, when he catches the ball, he's ready to go. No hesitation at all.
No setup required.
The other thing, Steve, that pass was thrown in a perfect position. They call that your shooting pocket, and it was thrown right there, and he was able to squeeze it off quickly.
This is Swope. Brown on the wing. Really had quite a run over the last 9 games behind the three-point line for Miami. Inside, nice work by Swope.
And very early, Miami's strategy seems to be clear. Drive the ball to the basket. Really put the pressure on the Virginia defense to see if they can guard you without fouling.
Ball knocked out of bounds. It's going to be Virginia ball.
Pretty good catch over there by Jim Larrañaga.
Yes, it was. And you know, he never coached in this hall. It was across the street. Brogdon gets a lot of attention as the leading scorer for the Cavaliers. Coming up, it's going to be charged to Swope, it looks like.
And in a game like this, where it looks like each team is really going to try to drive the ball hard to the basket, it's going to be a challenge for the defenses, for the players to be able to move their feet, stop the offensive players without fouling.
Well, Miami knows their success tonight lies, as you say, in what they do in the lane.
Miami drops into a zone defense.
Here's Harris out front for his second 3 of the game. Toby tries to get the rebound in. It's knocked out of bounds off Miami.
That is a much more difficult shot.
by Joe Harris that time. I didn't think he was open. I think that's a break for Virginia. It looked like that ball went off Toby's hand.
Bounce comes to Paredes. Here's Harris. Send up Toby in post. Gets around his man, but the rebound comes down to Kirk.
Well, I'm telling you, I think Virginia has an advantage in there, but that's a shot that your center has to make. Toby did a nice job getting close to the basket. That one's got to go down.
There's his steal. Brogdon all the way down, and he gets fouled. And that's going to be 2 quick ones on Eric Swope.
Garris Adams gets himself up in the air in a crowd of Virginia players, and one of the things you don't want to do against any team, but particularly this Virginia team that sort of grinds it on defense, is turn the ball over and give them easy opportunities. You know, they're pretty efficient on the offensive end anyway. You don't want to give them easy ones.
Brogdon on the free throw line. Brogdon is Virginia's leading scorer and a team that has a lot of balance from a scoring standpoint. Coming into the ball game now, Manu Lecomte from Brussels, Belgium.
Lecomte is a guy who started a few games for Miami at the point guard position, but Jim Larrañaga, he thinks there's much better Lecomte coming off the bench where he gets a feel for the game, gets a feel for the environment in which he's playing.
For this environment, kind of wild. Kirk out front. There's Brown. He got a lot of attention. There's a travel violation. Jamie Luckey making the call.
Virginia does such a great job helping out on screens and then rotating, cover up open players.
Now that's why they're #1 in the country defensively. Do a great job in a zone now. Shot Brogdon over the top of it. The rebound comes away to Akpajor.
One of the ways Miami is going to try to disrupt Virginia is by switching defenses, going from man-to-man to zone, play a couple of different types of zone.
Adams takes a long shot outside. We got a whistle and a foul coming up against Virginia. And a timeout at the court here in Charlottesville. Virginia by 1.
Okay, when you're on the job, you're making tough decisions around the clock.
0.5 rebounds, playing a good slice of time at 22 a game.
He is an energy guy. He comes in and he hustles. He's extremely aggressive. A very streaky three-point shooter, an excellent defender. This is a guy, when he comes in the game, things happen. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but things happen.
Darius Adams is on the free throw line. First shots of the night for the Hurricanes. We struggled at the start. Jim Larrañaga said today, he said, you know, we started playing man-to-man defense and we were just awful. So he took them into a zone, a variety of zones, and as they got their feet underneath them defensively, they've actually come out pretty well.
Adams, of course, was fouled attempting the three-point shot, fouled by Joe Harris.
So Allen put them ahead by 1. And they'll stay that way. Mitchell with the rebound for Virginia. Back underway. Important game for both of these teams. Virginia, they have Syracuse on Saturday, and then they don't play for another 8 days before they wrap up their season, regular season, against Maryland. He's Brogdon off to Paredes. Gill hesitates, and the ball picked off by Adams. Adams on the run, reverses, looks for a wing, and that's Brown with a shot for 3.
And that's the second time here early in the game Virginia has not been able to claim the defensive rebound. Cavaliers an excellent defensive rebounding team.
Make the steal.
What do we say with Anderson?
That's right.
That's what he's noted for, is coming in off the bench and making those great defensive plays.
Gill and Paredes have it over on that left side. Here's Gill inside. Here's Anderson for 3. No.
That one was way long.
And you can see the minute it left, you look at his face, and he knew that was something was desperately wrong with that. Ryan Brown at the top, leading scorer for the Hurricanes. There's a nice circle underneath. Blocked by Anderson. Taken by Mitchell. 2 good things have happened since Anderson's come on the game.
He's really something on the defensive end.
Sure is.
Here's Miami in this 3-2 zone at the moment. Cavaliers have struggled with it there. Anderson walked. So Anderson has made 2 really good defensive plays. Shot an air ball and traveled. And this looks like this is a lob that is going to be easily converted, but Anderson recovers and he goes after the basketball. How many times do you see a lob blocked like that?
Not many. Not many, but everybody in the hall, I think, saw that play coming. Question is, can you stop it? To that, Justin Henderson said yes. LeCompte. Here's Brown at the elbow. And he gets it to go.
That's pretty good defense by the Cavaliers. Brown just made the shot. Anderson was right in his face. Virginia's turned it over a couple times early. They don't turn it over very much.
Here's Mitchell. Brings it out to Anderson. Miami up here 8-5.
And what they've been able to do is get Virginia, when they're playing this zone, get Virginia to stand a little bit.
Ferrantes for 3.
If you can stand and shoot them like that, you're in business.
That's right. That's the second 3-pointer for the Cavaliers tonight. And that ties it up at 8.
And Prentice, he has really developed as the season has gone on. Obviously a key factor for these Cavaliers, and has picked up his scoring recently as well.
Here's Brown inside on the drive. LeCompte tried to save the rebound, but was out of bounds.
You get penetration even against a zone defense. It causes the defense to collapse, and that gives Prentice just enough room. But it's an excellent job by Malcolm Brogdon. People talk about his scoring, but he plays a game that's very under control. He can obviously shoot the ball, but he did a nice job drawing the defensive pressure, freeing up Ferrantes.
Here's Gill at the top. Ferrantes now has it on the wing. Facing that zone defense, Harris steps in between the 2 defenders.
That's normally a shot that Joe Harris will make, and I think against this zone defense, when you get a pass like that from Prentice, and you're in that kind of a situation, that's a shot that's got to be like a 90% shot.
The top almost turned it over. Avon Reed now has it out front. The freshman from Belgium makes the call. Ryan Brown on the lead. The shot clock's down to 10. Here's LeCompte, cuts through. No. Good attempt at it inside. The basket will not count. Travel violation on Aquajori.
Miami doing a really nice job hanging on to the basketball, making that Virginia defense work, and then driving the ball to the basket at the end of the shot clock. And when you beat the perimeter defenders, the defense has to come to help, and that opens up offensive rebounding opportunities. Shaqiri just shuffled his feet. That was going to be an easy bucket.
Ferrantes gets to the side of that defense, now takes it at the elbow, hits the shot, and draws the foul.
Well, London Ferrantes, that's just a great play. It appears they're trying to play off of him a little bit, but he makes them pay for it. Not a lot of room there, but he's able to got the athletic ability and the desire to get close and then knock it away.
Well, anything can happen when he comes into a game. Most of it's good. And we've seen an example, a couple of examples of that on the good side for Justin Anderson. Into the ball game now. Darian Atkins comes in. Junior out of Clinton, Maryland for Virginia.
Prentice in ACC play over 76% from the line, and that's actually been a weak spot for the Virginia Cavaliers. They get to the free throw line a lot, but in ACC play they only make 65%.
Well, they get the 3-point play there, lead by 3. Nice pivot there by Brown, and he'll finish the shot. Brown, top of the score for Miami.
Miami has been very aggressive attacking the Virginia defense.
Here's Anderson out front for 3.
Now, if he gets hot, he can score in bunches from out beyond the arc.
He's filling it up, Dan, in every category as far as plays, defensive plays, and a big offensive basket right there. Swope on the move. Rebound comes down to Anderson. Well, Anderson is shaking the tree a bit here for the Cavaliers. Inside, that's Gill.
Talked about Miami and their willingness to attack. Ryan Brown gets into the lane. That's not bad defense by Joe Harris. Just a really fine play. And then good ball movement by the Cavaliers. They get the ball in the middle of that zone, penetrating it with the pass. And then Anderson is wide open at the top of the key.
Anthony Gill, transfer from South Carolina. He's a redshirt sophomore from High Point, North Carolina.
He is one of the weaker Virginia free throw shooters.
I knew you were going to say that, and you made the first one just for you. Tanya Jakari is in the ball game now for Miami. Here's LeCompte.
You can see how versatile Anderson can be on the defensive end of the court. He's guarding the point guard now.
This is Reed back out to Brown. Near the midway point of this first half, Virginia's opened up a 5-point edge. I haven't had a chance to look at it now. 4 on the shot clock. Reed with the fire. The rebound comes down to Virginia, and guess who? Justin Anderson. So I would call him an early catalyst in this ball game. Just conservative. Just saying. Anderson out front. Brockton tries to use a Gill screen. Here's Harris back in. Gill gets the shot off in the corner. Good rebound by LeCompte. He had to fight off Brogdon to get that.
Brogdon is a very good offensive rebounder from that guard position.
From the corner. This will go by Reed, and the rebound comes away to Anderson.
Reed is not a great three-point shooter, and I think he's settled for a couple of threes. I think he'd be better off trying to drive the ball to the basket.
Joe Harris drew an awful lot of attention on that three-point attempt. That ball knocked off Brogdon and out of bounds.
That's Virginia's 4th turnover of the game. And we're talking about the Cavaliers and the way they play on the defensive end. Watch here as Gill comes out and really helps well. Now watch what Gill does. He's going to go back and find his man as Harris gets to here. And Darion Adkins, number 32, in the middle of the lane. He's directing traffic back there. So Virginia, a lot of communication going on the defensive end of the court.
And that wipes precious time off the Miami offense.
Cavaliers in ACC play only turn it over 8 times a game. They already have 4.
Out front, this is Reed. He'll put it inside. The dunk doesn't work, but there's a foul. Jakari took the shot.
It's awfully difficult to prevent this shot once the offense gets that deep into the lane. Toby had to step to try to help out. See, Toby has to step, and he leaves his feet going for the blocked shot, and he just doesn't have the time to get back and block the shot without fouling.
Carry on a line. 50% free throw shooter. It's the first. Ryan Brown coming back in. LeCompte will go out. Now this will change, and this will bring Darius Adams back handling the ball more at the point now with LeCompte out of the ball game. Mitchell boards the miss now for Virginia. Cavaliers lead by 4. Fast-moving first half featuring lots of defense. All inside to Toby. It's almost like a 1-3-1. Harris out front, left the ball behind, but the ball was knocked out of there by Swope.
What we talked about, Steve, was Miami's game plan to change defenses, and they've been giving the Cavaliers a couple of different looks. They've played man-to-man. They've played some straight-up 2-3 zone. They've played some 3-2 zone. Now a little bit of a matchup. But regardless of what defense you're playing, you can't let the guy drive all the way to the basket.
Yeah, we've got to stop him in the lane. Miami just 1 field goal in their last 5 minutes. And they've helped Virginia to a 6-point lead. Here's Swope. Adams has it on the wing. Brown. Virginia will do very little else besides a man-to-man, and they'll do that very, very well. Reed shot taken there by Kirk. And a jump ball call. Possession arrow goes to Virginia. 7:58 left to go. Penetrating the zone. Malcolm Brogdon takes a walk down the lane and puts Virginia up by 6. Interpreted in many different ways. He talks funny in certain parts of the country.
Still talks funny.
In other parts of the country, fits right in.
In this part of the country.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Virginia with the ball. Joe Harris to bring it up.
Miami now comes out trying to trap the ball.
Especially Evan Nolte had a hand on it. Here's Harris, up and off. Mitchell finally gets rid of the ball out front. Nolte saves it, goes to Brogdon. We're going to whistle and a foul coming up. And it's going to be charged for Brown.
That's a really good play by Malcolm Brogdon with Miami scrambling around and trying to get the traps. You beat the trap, even though Virginia was very uncomfortable. They missed that shot. They're able to get it out, and Brogdon drives before Miami can set the trap.
Good defense there by Reed. When you're setting the trap, you want the team that has the ball to stop handling it.
Yes, absolutely.
And when Brogdon takes it into the paint, that defeats the purpose of it.
5 turnovers now for the Cavaliers. Mitchell just got top dribble.
There they go. They tried that play earlier.
Well, Anderson's not in the game at the moment, so they have a much better chance of getting that one to work.
Brian Brown with a slam dunk on the alley-oop. 17-13. It's a Miami team that has transformed himself. Like teams find themselves as the season goes along. Oh, Miami considers themselves one of the found teams right now. Jim Larinaga couldn't agree more. Inside. Kobe can't get it to go. Finally, putting an end to the play right there was Reed. Darius Adams. Reed with a shot from the wing. He is not shot. Rebound comes down to Miami.
The Hurricanes doing a great job on the offensive boards against the team that we said is one of the best defensive rebounding teams, not only in the conference, but in the country.
Overall rebounding edge on their opponents is close to 6. Here's Kirk with the set. Fires the 3 and misses.
His best success has come taking the ball to the basket.
Here's Harris trying out a 3. His second of the game. 2013, Virginia.
And Miami just didn't get set sufficiently fast on defense. Virginia pushed the ball up and found an open Joe Harris.
Here's a key stretch for Miami to do what you talked about them doing. They've got to drive the ball toward the hoop and get a basket there. Brown out front. Brown's been their more reliable three-point shooter, but all of his shots have come in the lane for the most part, except at the elbow. Here's Kirk. Into the paint. Travel violation. Good defense by Virginia.
Remember early in the game when Kirk took the ball right past Akil Mitchell and got a dunk? Well, that time Akil Mitchell moved his feet, made Kirk stop, turned back into the lane. This is an outstanding defensive job by Akil Mitchell. Watch him move his feet, doesn't use his hands, makes Kirk turn back into the lane, and Kirk clearly shuffles that pivot foot. The first time, Mitchell not so good on the defensive end, but that time, very, very strong effort.
He gets a rest. Gill comes back in, Anthony Gill. On with Darian Atkins. Fuentes is back into the ballgame at point.
When you're playing a zone like this, you always got to find the shooters, and you got to know where Joe Harris is.
Harris, three-pointer doesn't go. Rebound up and off, a little too strong. That time by Atkins. We got a whistle and a foul on Miami, and it's going to be charged to Akbajori.
That was a long three-pointer opportunity by Joe Harris. Darian Atkins, again, that's a couple times now that Virginia has had point-blank range opportunities on offensive rebounds and failed to convert.
Harris comes out. Justin Anderson is back in. And his lead is 7, biggest of the game. Not just time to draw that zone out to him. They're going to take it. Anderson takes the 3. Brown gets the rebound for Miami.
I'm not so sure that 3 just coming in right off the bench shooting a standing three is really a good idea.
Temperature check. LeCompte back in. Freshman point guard has it. Here's Brown out top. Big challenge to Anderson to guard him. Brown.
That's a heck of a shot.
You just pat him on the back and say, good shot. I'll get you next time.
Because that was not bad defense.
No. Nice play through the middle of that defense. Brogdon with a score on a beautiful pass from the wing.
Great pass, and Brogdon got that ball up on the board very quickly before the Miami defense could react.
22-15. Virginia now trying to establish a 7-point buffer here. LeCompte. Brown, three-pointer on its way. Virginia's kind of taking the bait here. Here's Adams for another three. Doesn't go. It's really what Virginia wants him to do is shoot over the top of that zone.
Nice pass.
Oh, and it goes in. Atkins with the finish. Timeout coming from Miami.
That is some play by Parentis to even find Atkins. But again, Miami a little bit slow getting back on defense, and Parentis just does a great job pushing the ball.
Virginia now has taken their biggest lead of the game here, 24-15.
And despite the fact, Steve, that Virginia has not really played all that well. They've given up many more offensive rebounds than is their norm. They've turned the ball over. They haven't really shot it that well. But their defense has been outstanding.
They've got Miami taking some outside shots. Here's Brown directing traffic. LeCompte has it at the top. Parentis right there. Adams with a cut through. They didn't want to take it. Brown moving on Harris. 6 on the shot clock. LeCompte has the 2.
I'll tell you what, if you're gonna be forced to shoot that kind of a shot that tough, it's gonna be a long night for you.
Yes, it is. Cuts the Virginia lead to 7. Virginia with an 11-game win streak. Parentis out to the elbow. It's open to Gill.
Looked to me like Miami was actually playing triangle 2 that time. Again, they're trying to switch things up. Gill is a much better player around the basket. He's not incapable of making that 15-foot shot, but that is not the best shot in his repertoire.
But he knows he has to kind of take that shot. That's what the defense is giving you at that point. Here's LeCompte. Shot clock at 10. He penetrates, adjusts, misses. Rebound underneath it is put in. And the basket will count. Jacuri with the basket and a foul to boot. They'll shoot the shot. Nice shot by LeCompte. It's a 7-point Virginia lead. Virginia Cavaliers clean to a 5-point lead over Miami. 3-point play opportunity coming up. 7-footer going on the line. Tanya Jacuri for the Miami Hurricanes out of sophomore from Hialeah, Florida.
And I think this is exactly the kind of game that the Miami Hurricanes wanted to create. Neither team has shot the ball particularly well. In fact, each team, interestingly, 8 for 23. But Miami against, again, a very solid rebounding team in Virginia. They've secured 6 offensive rebounds. They've forced 5 turnovers.
Yeah, they're going to like where they are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Playing on the road against the top team in the conference.
And a nice 3-point play by Jacuri. And brings Miami to within 4. Atkins comes out and Nikhil Mitchell comes back in. And Virginia is a starting 5 with the exception of Anthony Gill.
Miami now goes back to the man-to-man.
Harris takes it inside, has it blocked and taken away, in fact, by Akijori.
That was a very difficult pass that Joe Harris attempted. You get that close to the basket, you got to put the ball up on the board. You drew the defense. Even if you miss, you've got a great offensive rebounding opportunity. Another turnover for the Cavaliers.
Here's Adams out front. Final Final minute of play, first half. Ryan Brown down the lane, and we've got a whistle and a foul coming up. It's going to be on Brogdon first.
Joe Harris drives into the lane, and suddenly there's 3 Miami Hurricanes around him. If he just shoots that ball, I think Gillen is in great position for an offensive rebound.
Here's the quick shot off the inbounds. And the rebound comes down to Harris.
Well, that's some rebound.
Final minute of play in this first half here at the JPJ. Harris back out front. There's the shot by Paredes for 3.
And I think that's something that the Miami defense wasn't really expecting. Paredes is not a bad three-point shooter. In fact, he shoots almost 40% in ACC play, but you just don't expect him to be the guy beating you from beyond the three-point arc.
His 19th of the season takes Virginia to a 7-point lead. 25 seconds left to go in a quick-moving first half. LeCompte inside. Can't get it to go. Shaqiri gets the rebound, and we got a whistle. And it looks like it's going to be...
I'm not sure that that ball hit the rim, and therefore the shot clock should not have been turned off. And I think that's what the officials are looking at right now.
Jamie Lucky's going to try to determine where the shot clock should be.
That's a tough one. That didn't look to me like that ball hit the rim, and if the ball 16 seconds on the shot clock, and then they reset the clock.
Yeah.
So it looks to me from that replay as if the shot clock should not have reset.
And in the 2 shots we showed you there, didn't necessarily look like the ball hit the rim.
And that's what the officials have now decided.
27-20, Virginia in the lead. 11 seconds left on the shot clock. 16.4, and Miami will have the ball.
But again, Steve, we've seen Virginia struggle with the defensive rebound. Miami's penetration hasn't resulted in a lot of baskets, but it has resulted in getting that Virginia defense out of position. Miami's getting a lot of second chance opportunities.
Miami, decent rebounding team at 35-2. They lead their opponents by 3 every game. There's the weave. And the ball lost by the freshman. Brogdon picks it up. Looks ahead to Harris. He'll take it in himself. It's blocked. And out of bounds on the tip out of there by Ryan Brown.
Boy, nice play by Ryan Brown. Brogdon gets past him, but he doesn't panic. He goes and looks for the basketball. Doesn't hack him across the arm. Tony Bennett here is going to call his first half timeout to try to set something up with 3.1 seconds.
It's going to be a 30-second timeout for the Cavaliers. A defensive struggle between these two, and right now Virginia getting the better of it. They're dictating where Miami can and can't shoot for the most part, but Miami doing a great job on the boards. Then London Paredes, of course, hitting the 3 last time down.
Well, he was open in the transition situation. They didn't throw him the ball that time. He knocks it down to here. He was open, then he gets covered up. Gets to the old-fashioned three-point play. What a nice pass here as he just drops it off to Darion Atkins. Then he's open on another three-point basket.
Well, a pair of threes for him.
He's had a very, very strong first half, and that's the way it's been for these Virginia Cavaliers. It's not the same guy every night.
Inbounds comes to Brogdon. 2 seconds. 1 second. Lets it fly. And that's it for the first half. Hard-fought first half, but Virginia, despite shooting woes, gets what they want to get done. Miami has a lot of positives to work on as we go to the second half. Intermission. Virginia by 7 over Miami.
Okay, when you're on the job, you're
The first place in the ACC. It happens to be where they sit right now. 3 times they sat here while Ralph was a player here, then again in '95, and most recent in 2007. Trying to end up on top. Here if they can hang on for a couple of weeks and win the next 3, including one on the line right now with Miami. And the Hurricanes are saying, we're not going easy. In fact, we're going to give you a battle in the second half. And that's how they finished their season under Jim Larrañaga, who, strangely enough, was an assistant coach through those 3 years, 81, 82, 83, under Terry Holland. Ball turned over by Miami on the first possession of the second half.
Virginia once again really does a nice job coming out and helping on those screens and then getting back.
Somehow Miami sets up defensively now. It's going to be a straight man here. Mirandas gives us a look.
Virginia has really gotten nothing from its post players. Akil Mitchell, Mike Tobey, Anthony Gill, none of them have scored yet. And there Akil Mitchell is going to pick up a foul for an illegal screen.
Offensive foul. First 30 seconds of the half, so one team turns it over. Well, they both turned it over. Is the end result.
Lots of times this is just a hustle play right here. If you're working really hard, you pick up that foul. And Akil Mitchell just threw his hip out there. Brown still fiddling with that right eye of his. Elbow caught him in the eye.
Brown's pass to the corner is knocked out of bounds by Mitchell. It remains Miami ball. And we remain scoreless for the first 50 seconds of the second half. Both teams shooting under 35% from the field. So the defenses have come to play. By Adams is corralled there. Tobey can't get it, but Parentas does.
He was the one guy who picked it up. Everybody else is trying to dribble it, and there he just throws it away.
Tried to do a blind pass to Akil Mitchell, but Kirk was there. Here's Brown getting to the top, and he gets fouled.
Mike Tobey picks up the foul. And again, Ryan Brown, he has been the most aggressive of the Miami Hurricanes, and now he gets to go to the line. He's an outstanding free throw shooter.
Try to break down Virginia's defense with one play, as evidenced by the 2 assists in the first half. Miami's got to find a way to use Brown and also to use those post guys inside. We haven't heard from Swope too much.
Swope is not really a guy who's going to put a lot of points on the board for you. He's mainly a defender, a rebounder, a screener. He usually guards the other team's best guy, and he's matched up against Brogdon now.
Inside, Tobey. Turns and faces. Take the long off the up and under, went on the back of the backboard. I'm not sure where that was headed.
I don't think Tony Bennis was particularly sure where that was headed. The Virginia inside guys, Tobey, Mitchell, Atkins, and Gill are now a total of 1 for 8 from the field.
Wow. That's how well both of these teams have played defensively. Brown on the wing. Plenty of time on the shot clock. Adams gives it away to Kirk. His drive doesn't go, but a good rebound there by Swope.
That's what Swope does for you. He comes flying in. Another offensive rebound created by dribble penetration for the Miami Hurricanes.
Nary a field goal in his second half yet. Just a Miami free throw on the board since they came out at halftime. Brown goes away from Kirk's screen. There's a nice cut by Adams, but he can't finish the play off. Ball knocked out of bounds by Miami. Brown, rather, Kirk had a hand on it.
Kirk did have a hand on it, but Steve, what did you see? You saw 3 green shirts around the basket after the dribble penetration. Virginia's got to do a better job keeping Miami on the perimeter.
He starts hitting those shots inside. They could find themselves in a great deal of trouble here. Cavaliers by 6. Here's Harris. He's been kind of quiet. Had a couple of threes in the first half. Inside Mitchell, off the square, puts the foul.
That was really nice execution of an old basketball screen and roll play. This is a very good catch by Mitchell here. He hit the dribble handoff, then he just cuts to the basket. You see right here, this is Mitchell's man, and he's looking at the basketball. Kirk, he's not able to get back quickly enough, and when the help comes in the form of a foul.
Mitchell gets a three-point play. 30-21.
And again, you have a position in the game where, as we saw a couple times in the first half, where Virginia has a chance to take control, but Miami has battled back in every situation previously.
Let's see if they battle back here. This is Swope driving, scoring, and getting fouled.
I think they called that no basket. He was fouled on the drive. Joe Harris picks up the foul. And now you're trying to pressure the basketball. That's a big key for this Virginia defense. But you know Eric Swope is not going to be able to shoot the ball. He's not a jump shooter, so you got to play off of him for the drive.
Swope gets an easy shot that time on the inbounds.
And Virginia went for a steal and missed it. Swope is a guy who's going to score close to the basket.
14-9 last time out. And a huge win over Boston College, 69-42.
Brogdon has been relatively quiet this evening as well.
Durantis for three. That's why. He hasn't had to.
And we said in the first half that it's a different guy for this Virginia team every night. And the players don't care as long as they win the game. I don't think that they have any concern at all about where accolades might go.
Here comes Swope inside. Can't get it to go, but he gets fouled. Virginia's hit their first three.
And that foul's on Toby. And this is interesting against a Miami team that's a little bit smallish. Not in terms of their physical bulk, but in terms of their height. Toby, you'd think he'd have a big advantage. He's got a couple of inches on Okpajuri. Okpajuri's got the muscle advantage, but Toby has a couple of inches. You'd think that he would be in position to have a pretty good game, but he has really struggled.
Senior Eric Swope on the line out for Miami. Hits the first. Lake Elsinore, California. Gill is back in.
The last few possessions for Miami, Swope has been very aggressive with the basketball. As we said, not noted as an offensive player, but he has been attacking the basket.
Makes them both high arcing foul shots. Cuts the Virginia lead to 8.
Miami now drops back into the zone defense. That's at 1-2-2 or 3-2.
It's up to Parantes to get them into the proper alignment here. The skip pass comes to Harris. Here's Brogdon. Gets into the paint.
Well, I wasn't sure when that ball left his hand whether he was trying to shoot it or maybe throw a lob to Mitchell, but clearly he was trying to shoot it, and boy, he does a nice job with those floaters in the lane, doesn't he?
I thought it was going to get spanked back to us. Ryan Brown. Out front, there's a whistle.
That's Okpajuri who's going to pick up the foul.
Virginia opens hot. Parantes is hot as well. Lots of emotion for the Virginia Cavaliers.
3 assists. Not a bad line so far for the Virginia point guard.
And it's like you said, Dan, it's been a different guy every night. And Virginia is deep enough with offensive players to make that happen.
I think that's one of the keys to the Cavaliers' success, Steve. You just mentioned it. They're deep enough. They've got more depth, quality depth on this Virginia team than Tony Bennett has had in his previous 4 years.
Improved the win total each of his 5 years here at Virginia. Now they sit 15 minutes away from collecting their 12th straight win of the season. Miami may have a thing to say about that, except for a play like that, which is Swope's 3rd foul.
Again, Miami trying very hard to change things up on the defensive end. That time they were in a man-to-man and they were in a trap. Swope committed the foul.
Here's Brogdon at the top. Durantis to to Harris. Back to Parentis. Another three.
They really ought to guard him.
You think? He's 4 for 4 behind the arc. He's 5 for 5 for the night. Virginia to their biggest lead. Brogdon knocks the ball out of bounds. Swope calling for his club to settle down.
Parentis just does a great job going into the open position. Harris gets the defense to commit to him, and that really was not very well played by Miami. Particularly with Parentis as hot as he is, you got to identify him and find him.
Now Virginia carries its defense to the forefront here. Here's Swope. Puts the shot off the glass wildly. The ball knocked out of bounds by Akujuri. It's going to be Virginia ball.
You like Swope's aggressiveness, but that was just a bad shot. You don't want him to force things.
But you can see why he did it. The floor was unbalanced in his favor. One of the few times that's happened. Virginia usually doesn't leave too many crevices open.
Maybe back in the zone. They have trapped out of this zone.
And they struggled early in the season. The zone was a place of safe refuge defensively. They've gotten better. Here's Gill working his way inside, and the foul coming up. It's going to be called to Jakiri.
Actually, Steve, that may have been one of those junk defenses that Miami has played here since they switched to the zone defense. That may have been a triangle too. A nice job by Gill. They're guarding the perimeter guys, then there ought to be some space inside for the post guys.
So Gill to the foul line where he hits the first.
And we've talked about Virginia and their struggles from the free throw line. They've been really good from the line tonight.
Yes, they have. They normally come in here at 65%. And Dan just jinxed it.
Jim Larinaga calls timeout.
Almost 6 seconds or 6 minutes gone in this second half. Virginia has pushed their lead at half at 7 up to 14.
Headed out of town for those big away games? Then
Bases who win total each of the last 5. Who is the coach of the only other team to do so? Survey said Bobby Cremins. And the facts say it too out of Georgia Tech.
What great teams they had in those days at Georgia Tech.
Mark Price,
John Salley.
shot inside, missed, and the rebound lost out of bounds by Jakiri. It's going to be Virginia ball. Virginia has taken control of the first 6 minutes of the second half, outscoring Miami 12-5. Defense now for Virginia, for Miami. Anderson in the ball game with Brogdon. Here comes Brogdon down the lane, and he forces the contact.
This is really a good drive by Brogdon. You know, at his size, 6'5", about 217 pounds. He's got the quickness to get into the lane and then the strength to do something with the basketball once he gets in traffic.
Brogdon makes the free throw. You know, imagine, I'm sure Tony Bennett didn't necessarily think, well, Brogdon's going to be my leading scorer this season after he hadn't seen him play for about a year and 4 games.
Brogdon, he shakes his head there at the free throw line because the ball wasn't a clean swish.
41-25, Virginia in the lead.
Now, Miami has done a really good job driving the ball to the basket and creating opportunities. They just haven't converted very many of them. They've got those 8 offensive rebounds, which is a very positive stat. There's the foul by Gill, but as a result of those 8 offensive rebounds, Miami only has 5 second chance points.
They've got to have more victories than that
Here Gill tries to step out and help, and this is really a good job by Brown. If a guy is going to step out, particularly big guys, going to step out that aggressively, I've always thought that a guard's best option is to take the ball and drive it at his hip, and if you create that contact, it's going to be a foul on the big guy every time.
Harris comes in, Parantis goes out. Akpajori comes in for Jakiri from Miami. Here's LeConte. Looking inside, can't find it. Reed with a shot. No.
Miami still has not made a three-point basket in this game.
8 attempts.
I think when you're playing this Virginia defense, you don't have to rely on the three, but I think you've got to make some perimeter shots to loosen them up a little bit.
You got to come out. You got to make them come out and guard you. And open it up to your strength, which is inside. Gill. Nice work by Gill along the baseline.
Well, that's a really strong move in there. We talked about the Virginia inside guys not making any contributions in the first half. Well, Gill and Mitchell have made them here in the second.
10 unanswered points over the last 4 minutes here for Virginia. Gives them a 43-25 lead. Levon Reed tries to penetrate, draws the foul. Now coming up on Brogdon.
Gill sees an opportunity here. That's a great job by Gill to turn and face the basket and then drive it. Just sweeps that ball from one side to the other and gets to the baseline. Most big guys in that situation would try to make that move with their back to the basket.
He got under the arm of the defender, and that was it. He had his step. Reed on the free throw line. Oh, my. These are key opportunities for Miami now. They need everything they can get if they're going to get back into this game.
Reed has had a tough game. He's missed a couple of threes and forced some things on the offensive end, and that free throw was wide left.
Rebound comes down to Gill on the miss. 5-point second half for the Hurricanes. 16 on the board for Virginia.
He only has one field goal.
Here's Anderson. Miami with a rebound. Waits for everybody to organize. Reed with a nice drive. Second field goal for Miami in this half. 43-27.
Reed is another guy with really good size. 6'6", about 210.
Kevin Jones into the Virginia lineup. Anderson finds Jones in the corner. He gets the baseline. The floater won't go. Akpajuri with a rebound. LeConte comes in the front court. Here's the drive by Swope. Won't go. Ball tipped back. LeConte fights for it. Anderson is there challenging him. Here comes Miami. They negotiated a fresh 35 out of them. Reed with a shot off the iron. Not for lack of trying. Timeout on the court. With 10:44 left to go in the second half, Virginia's opened up a 43-27 lead.
Get 20 of our best for less at Ruby Tuesday. That's 20 dishes all under $10. Try our loaded smokehouse burger or fresh garden bar and everything in between. Delicious flatbreads, tacos, tenders, and salads, all made to order.
I think Malcolm Brogdon certainly has to be in the conversation. KJ McDaniels has had such a great year for the Clemson Tigers. Of course, Jabari Parker, I don't know how he's done it, but he's lived up to that hype with which he came in. And TJ Warren, he's one of the leading scorers in the country. So a lot of guys on that list.
You mentioned Malcolm Brogdon, who represents a team really where there are several leaders. That's probably been the strength of Virginia this season. Here's Brogdon. Gets in. The ball is kicked. They'll get a little more time on the shot clock. 15 seconds, 2 more. In the 13.
If you really can't consider this a problem, but when you're talking about postseason accolades, Virginia has just gotten so many contributions from so many folks. It's hard to identify one guy as being a star, and there's another example of it. Joe Harris, a guy who was in second place in the votes for preseason All-ACC Player of the Year, doesn't try to force anything, but just makes a great pass to Gill, who has really come to life here on the inside in the second half.
It's going to be on Donovan Kirk. Foul is Gill on for the three-point play.
Again, that's one weakness the Cavaliers seem to have, and that is they're not as good from the free throw line as you think they ought to be with all the guys they have who can shoot the ball.
65% as a team this season. Here's Ryan Brown. He's been quiet in the second half. Everybody from Miami has. Adams' shot won't go. Rebound. Taken by Ja'Carri, and we got a whistle on a foul coming up.
That's on Gill.
Yep.
And that'll now be a 1-on-1. Neither team got to the 1-on-1 in the first half, but that's the 17th foul against Virginia. And that's, again, Miami hasn't really been productive in terms of scoring points, but they've had success driving the ball into the lane and getting offensive rebounds. Now, you'd prefer to drive the ball in the lane and not have to worry about the offensive rebound. You'd like to make the basket.
Well, the foul line has not been Miami's friend this season. They had 30 of them in the loss against Virginia Tech. Their only loss in the last 4.
So Miami's been able to get inside, but the Virginia defense has been good enough that they have not given Miami easy finishes in there.
No, they haven't. Forced the Hurricanes to hurry some shots in there, too. Pass found its way to Brogdon, but we don't know how. And it still does. That ball is just glued to him. He tries the alley-oop to Gill, but it's surrounded there by Swope.
That was a rather hectic sequence there. You don't see Virginia involved in any of those.
Virginia looking for that knockout punch. Gill gets the rebound and a foul coming up. I think it's going to be on Donovan Kirk of Miami.
He got whacked.
Let's see, is that... It's a 17 foul on Miami.
Foul. I think that was on Ja'Carri, wasn't it? I couldn't see whether they called it 22 or 23.
22.
22, okay. That was Kirk.
Gill goes to the line. Up there for 1-on-1. That's the front half of it. You know, you look at their last couple of plays trying to throw the alley-oop. Virginia really does want to start thinking about the weekend.
Well, you know, Steve,
business behind.
Now, not the players and coaches as Jim Larrañaga calls timeout, but from the time you and I walked into this building today, all anybody around this program, except the players and coaches, could talk about was the game on Saturday.
Well, that's kind of what we talked about in the start of the game.
Yeah, even we did it.
Yeah, we did it. But you can bet that Tony...
Again, I just don't think that you can be very competitive against this Virginia team unless you can hit some perimeter shots. Particularly, you've got to knock some down from 3. You don't have to rely on the 3. But I think you've got to make some perimeter shots.
Well, Miami has not succeeded in that area tonight. They're 0 for 9 outside the three-point line.
This is a Miami team that in conference play, Steve, gets more than 30% of their points from beyond the three-point line.
Virginia, another example of how they did a good job defensively against them. Inside Swope dives, doesn't hit. They've got fouled on the way up.
I think they're going to get Gill. No, Atkins, excuse me. Gill's not in the game.
Atkins picks up the foul, and here comes Eric Swope. Darian Atkins, and Swope gets the free throw. Swope had a real good game, as we mentioned, against Boston College. 14 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists.
Swope is a guy who really dedicated himself over the summer to getting in much, much better shape. I mean, he's always been very athletic and very strong, but he lost about 20 pounds. What he has left is all muscle.
Here comes Anderson, who's been the change maker in this game, really, for
He surprised Toby with that pass. Toby was going for the rebound, and suddenly the ball appeared there. It's been a tough night for Toby.
But you look at what Anderson did in the first half when it was knotted up, and then all of a sudden they built a 5-point lead after he came into the ball game. He had a big block. Steal. We got a foul out here. The basket does not count.
It's just one of those games for Toby. Now he picks up a foul. It's his 4th foul.
So 1-1 coming up for Miami here. Here comes Akil Mitchell. And Toby comes out.
See, but Toby has struggled tonight, but he's had some big games for the Cavaliers, and I think, you know, we were talking about Saturday. Toby's a guy I think is going to be a key for them against Syracuse on Saturday.
Syracuse, tough week for them. Lost 2 games, lost the #1 perch. Unbeaten streak ended at 25. They're still a great ball.
Yeah, they are, but they really walked the tightrope against Maryland the other night.
Well, they've had a couple of games like that this
Absolutely,
season.
they have.
But it's almost by their own design, because they're going to set up in that 2-3 zone, and they dare you to try to find a solution to it. Mitchell out front. Here's Brogdon. Shot clock down to 10. Anderson takes the shot from the wing.
Well, the other thing about Syracuse, Steve, it's if you are attacking that 2-3 zone and you find something that works, well, they just adjust and they take it away. And so they don't do the same thing every time down the court. Brown scores there. And so they really force you as an offensive team to make decisions every time you come down the court. A coach just can't call out plays because what you see is not what you saw the last time necessarily.
And you'll see Syracuse make adjustments with their guards on that zone. They'll either play back or they'll play out. Nice drive that time by Brogdon.
Boy, he's really good going to the basket.
Sure is. He's been a guy that has carried Virginia in the
Team that I think, with Syracuse being the dominant story in the ACC, not only coming into the ACC for their first year, but being undefeated for so long and being the #1 team in the country, they've sort of overshadowed Tony Bennett's team. There's a lot of people around the ACC who look up and they're surprised that the Virginia Cavaliers are the team in first place. You know, it's not Syracuse, it's not Duke, it's not North Carolina, it's Virginia, and I think that really has a lot of people surprised.
Well, I think the reason is also, you know, is their defense. They're top in the nation defensively at holding people to 55 points a game. And I think that's going to be a great defensive struggle on Saturday. And they both achieve things different.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored in that one.
No. First one to 45 win. Here's Brown.
Now, speaking of points being scored, Ryan Brown was the main offensive threat for Miami in the first half, and he just recently scored his first field goal in the second half. And Swope that time draws the foul drive into the basket.
Akil Mitchell permitted it.
But Miami really hasn't been able to move the ball from side to side. That's what you have to do against any defenses. Before you attack off the dribble, get that defense moving a little bit. Get it going side to side and then attack.
Let me take a look at this Virginia defense and how they stack up. These are national, not ACC ranks, but national rankings.
This is what we talked about with Miami's success on the offensive board. Very surprising because Virginia is #3 in the country in defensive rebounds.
Swope hits a pair there.
But even if you're able to get to the basket, as we've seen, Virginia contests the shots. You're not going to get very much easy against them.
Well, the biggest evidence of that is the block by Anderson. He gets by Brown and feeds inside to Gill, but a foul coming up on Jakiri. Will put Virginia on the line with 6:44 left to go.
I'll tell you, Anderson, he comes in the game and he just gets moving. This is an outstanding pass, and Miami, they're still going after it. Gill not able to get that dunk, but boy, Anderson, he makes things happen, doesn't he?
He has. I think really when you take a look at the story of this game so far, Anderson's insertion into it in the first half, off the bench as he did, was a catalyst for Miami. Even though Paredes was hitting the three-point shots, I think Anderson made some key plays that kind of broke the deadlock and got Virginia rolling. And Paredes kept them rolling. Brown out front. 51-33 Virginia. Brown tries to drive the lane and Gill shuts it off, but there's a foul coming up. I think it's going to be on Anthony Gill. That's 3.
Gill's got 3, Toby's got 4. And again, this is just something that's created on the drive to the basket. Gill tries to step in. Doesn't get there in time.
30-second timeout taken by Miami here. 6:25. Well, we talked about Justin Anderson. Let's take a look at what he's done tonight.
Well, as soon as he came into the game, he knocks the ball up in the air and gets a steal. And then Miami tries to throw the lob, and Anderson's right there and blocks it. He got 3 rebounds in the first half. When he gets a rebound, he can get out and start the break. And he's only made 1 basket today. It's that 3-point shot, but he can be very streaky from 3-point range. A lot of discussion, Steve, surrounding like all ACC teams and things like that, and people speculating that maybe the Cavaliers aren't going to have anybody on the first team, despite the fact that they're having the year that they've had so far. But for the first time, the ACC is going to give a 6th man award, and you'd have to say that this guy would maybe be the front runner.
Oh yes, among guys who come off the bench exclusively. Malcolm Brogdon, as you suggested in your top 8 guys.
Brogdon and Brown were the 2 guys we talked about before the game. Brown only has 1 basket in the second half. He has not hit a 3, and this is the guy who leads the ACC in 3-point field goal percentage.
Brown with a key free throw miss here. He's an 80% free throw shooter. Missed them both.
Wow.
Take advantage of those opportunities. Miami 11 of 21 from the foul line, so they've left at least 10 points on the line.
One of the things, talking to Jim Larrañaga before the game, he said Miami had to do is they had to shoot well. And certainly they haven't done that. And that, he said, that might be the most important thing. You're playing against this Virginia team. You got to put the ball in the basket.
Brogdon gets by his man and gets fouled. It's going to be on Reed. Davon Reed of Miami picks up his 2nd. He's a true freshman out of Ewing, New Jersey.
This is a Virginia team that just plays with a lot of confidence.
They do. They really do. And with very little ego, because different people can help them on different nights. You made that point tonight.
Well, think about this guy here, Joe Harris. He was on the first team preseason All-ACC. In fact, he finished 2nd in to C.J. Fair in the voting for preseason player of the year. But his numbers are down this year, but his contributions may be up. He is blended in. He's done a nice job on the defensive end. He is, as you say, he's played without ego. He's doing whatever needs to be done to help the team. Team a little bit more balanced this year, and it's okay for him to be a decoy because other guys get it done.
Brown's pass knocked out of bounds by Brogdon. And let's compare Harris last year to this year, and you could say, well, gee, what's wrong with him? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I think the only number that he would really like to change in that category is his free throw shooting this year.
Pass comes in just in time to Swope. 5.5 to play. Virginia's lead is 20. Here's Reed. Here's Swope. And a foul coming up. Looks like it's going to be on Gill. And that'll be 4 on Gill.
You got to give some credit to Miami there. They were back on their heels, but they just kept working at it. And with 4 seconds on the shot clock, Gill picks up the foul.
You know, and over the next couple of minutes, maybe about a minute and a half, Miami can take advantage of their free throws and get some more people in foul trouble. Might be able to make a run. Gill goes out to 4.
That is a very optimistic assessment, Mr. Martin.
Almost too optimistic. Swope with a pair. He'll come out. Donovan Kirk comes in.
You know, I think Eric Swope, who just has gone out of the game, he's got to say that he's a guy who hasn't really played all that much in his Miami career, but he's given Jim Larrañaga everything that Jim Larrañaga could possibly want.
Graduated a bevy of seniors, and before Shane Larkin decides to go to the NBA. Here's Harris. Nice move down the lane.
See, that's the thing about Harris. You can say anything you want about his numbers. He's still capable of putting up big numbers any given night. So even if his numbers are down, you have to respect him. You've got to probably put your best defensive guy on him. That really helps the other players.
Under 5 to play. Virginia defense just disrupts you. An interesting contrast Saturday. One likes zone, one likes man-to-man. Here's Davon Reed. Shot doesn't go. Mitchell with the board. Ronta's in the front court. Harris again. 2 and a 3. And the door is almost closed here. 58-35. Down to 4. LeComp. No, doesn't go. Virginia gets the rebound.
You still haven't hit a 3.
Nope. And 10 attempts. Here is Nolte, doesn't get it. You talk about a team getting to number 1 and showing on how to hold it. Virginia has shown just that. And all the things that you haven't been watching because you've been watching something else at the top of the ACC. These guys, you shouldn't undersell Virginia. They are one outstanding player. Inside, nice rebound there by Kirk, but it won't go. That's a good effort by Miami, but they just couldn't make it work. That's been typical of the effort they put forth tonight. We got a whistle and a timeout called by Tony Bennett with 3:12 left to play.
Now, we just were talking about Joe Harris and the kind of contributions that he has made and what he's capable of doing. Here he drives the ball to the basket. He's not just a standstill shooter, but you want a catch-and-shoot guy? Very few can catch and shoot as well as Joe Harris.
So Joe Harris helps put some icing on the cake here and advances Virginia to a 23-point lead with 3:12 left to go as the Cavaliers show their might at both ends of the court.
And I think this is a game that illustrates how focused this Virginia team can be, because everybody in this town was talking about the game on Saturday. And I think it sort of goes right over the head of these Virginia guys, because all they want to do is go out and play. And it doesn't make any difference who they're playing. They just want to go out and play. And they did not overlook this Miami team. They smothered them defensively. And in the second half, their offense has kicked into high gear.
And they're on the verge of winning their 12th straight game of the year. Only one loss in ACC play, and that was a narrow loss at Duke.
That was a loss where they got behind at Duke, and they got behind by double figures, and they had to battle back.
And here's Joe Harris. Anderson has it. Tevin Jones now out at the top. Harris gives a fake that Brown has to honor. Nolte for 3. And the party is on here in Virginia. Bring on the next course of the feast.
It's going to be a feast that has some bite to it, though, on Saturday.
Yes, it is. Swope inside. We got a whistle and a foul coming up on Anderson. Timeout on the court. 2:31 to play. Find a three-point shooter. They're all over the map. The Volunteers 87 to 52, and they really haven't looked back since.
You know, this is very interesting. You watch this Virginia team play defense tonight, Stephen. You wonder how anybody can score 87 points against them. Malcolm Brogdon did not score in that game, Steve. And since that time, he has yet to miss double figures. He's now scored in 16 double figures in 16 consecutive games. Miami, they've made no three-point baskets tonight. Tennessee made 11 of those three-point baskets, and that was such a whipping that Virginia came back and they rededicated themselves defensively. They simplified their offense, and I think they got some of the kind of leadership you expect from your seniors, Shaquille Mitchell, Joe Harris.
Anderson tries to put a punctuation mark here. And Miami's not going to let him do that.
Even when he misses, the crowd moves and all.
I know it. But, you know, Virginia has held 10 opponents under 50 this year. They've won 9 of those games, and they have been outstanding defensively. Tonight is no example, and if the score doesn't change here in a hurry in the next 2 minutes and 15 seconds, 37 is the lowest that they've held any team this season. That's the thumb of Malcolm Brogdon, their leading scorer, getting looked at.
And that's one other thing about Virginia. They have been injury-free this year. And I think in this day and age in college basketball, the teams that can stay injury-free are teams, particularly if you're talented and you've got a veteran team, that they're the ones that have success. And so hopefully they looked at that and decided it was just a fine thumb after all.
2:10 left to go. Miami with the ball. Brown tries to run one in. It's been a struggle for Brown in the second half. Brown with 11 points. He got 1 basket in the second half.
Well, remember what we talked about with the Syracuse defense, that when somebody's having success, they change the defense a bit and cut that off. Well, Virginia, Brown had success in the first half, and Virginia they switched up what they were doing a little bit, concentrated a little more on Brown, and he is really struggling. This is an 80% free throw shooter. He's now 1 for 5.
We have 2:05 left of this game, and Miami only has 3 assists.
Well, again, their game plan seems to have been to try to attack off the dribble and take the ball all the way to the basket. Virginia helps out so well that you really don't have the opportunity to pass it to an open man because Virginia's defensive rotation is so good, so they force you to take it all the way to the basket and try to score. And it's not a fertile ground for assists.
Here's Toby. And nice reverse.
See, Toby is so skilled in there. He catches the ball well. He moves so well. I just think he's going to be a critical factor in their game against Syracuse on Saturday.
Comes Swope. Toby with a block. Minute 35 left to go. Tony Bennett entering the bench here. Look at Toby. Underneath Shaqiri and made the rest history, and gets a good applause from the house as he comes to the bench, along with Nolte and Jones. Coach Larrañaga doesn't have a very deep team, so Ryan Brown still into the ball game. Here's Kirk. Final 90 seconds of the game. And Miami breaks 40.
Yeah, you're right, Steve. It's Jim Larrañaga doesn't really have a bench to clear over there.
Zenelec inside. It's Kervin with a turning shot. And we're down to our final minute as Virginia will win its 12th straight game, its 24th game of the season, and assure itself of no worse than a second-place finish in the ACC regular season.
Well, one of the interesting things that presents, Steve, is after they play Syracuse, you mentioned, they have 8 days off before they play Maryland. And then, based on this win tonight, they've guaranteed themselves the bye all the way to the quarterfinals on Friday, the ACC tournament. So that Maryland game will basically be their only game for 2 weeks. And at this time of the year, you want to be playing games. You don't want to be off.
That's right. That's an 8-day stretch between their game with Syracuse and, of course, their game with Maryland, which will have some significance to it because it's the last regular season meeting between the two in the ACC.
And then they go till Friday of the next week until they play again. So,
so one game in
one game in about 2 weeks.
Yep. We're finishing it out here at Charlottesville. This is Heller for Miami. Takes the shot, goes out of bounds. And we're in the final 11 seconds, and the Virginia Cavaliers will continue surging at a surge that began on December 31st and hasn't stopped since, except for a brief burp at Duke.
That's just a dominant defensive performance.
And there it is, the final score. From Charlottesville, 65-40, Virginia crushes Miami. Tony Bennett gets his 100th career victory. And the first 12-game ACC winning streak since 1981 and 1982, and a 7'4" center pulled the middle for the Virginia Cavaliers.
Yeah, they had some pretty good teams back in those days.
They sure did. And Jim Larrañaga was an assistant coach on those teams as well, so he knows how very good it was. Our final score, Virginia 65, Miami 40. For Dan Bonner, I'm Steve Martin, thanking all our crew and saying so long to you from Charlottesville, Virginia.